What's up, everybody? It's your favorite official third party's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the deluxe Soundwave and Ravage from ThreeZero. This is on loan to me from Robert D. I can tell you right out of the box it felt pretty awesome. Better than their Prime, in fact. Or was it their Bumblebee that I looked at? Or did I look at both? Hard to say, really. Better at whichever one I looked at before. As a result, I am very anxious to take a look at this guy, and he has a transforming component which I'm anxious to take a look at, but in order to do any of that, we gotta start with accessories. So he comes with a display base. It's pretty cool. It has the Transformers Bumblebee Tampo along with ThreeZero branding, and then the skull work is cool. No additional kind of dry brushing, which would probably benefit it. And then it has this stand here. So this goes in, and then you can adjust it. Let me back out a little bit. You can raise it up and down here. Once you got it where you want, you just flip this down. I was trying to push it up. You flip it down, that locks it. Then you have this section, the armature of it, and that raises up and down. This releases it here, and then you have the actual part that pegs into them. That's on a hard ratchet, so to speak, that doesn't move, so it locks in. So you just take it out, adjust the angle, and put it back in, and that controls that. Now Soundwave has this piece that you can pull off of his backside, and then you just shove that on in, and now you've got Soundwave on a stand. I love to have a stand. Love that they included it. This figure will look great jumping probably, but I found myself while I was taking photos and stuff, like not wanting to do it just because we'll get to it. He's a very cool, fun figure to pose. So this only helps, but it's kind of like bringing sand to the beach. But by all means, bring it. It's a welcomed piece of sand, I guess. He, of course, comes with an array of hands. We have left and right relaxed hands, left and right kind of posing outreached hands, left and right trigger finger hands, and then left eject finger hands. And that's in addition to the two fist hands that you saw in the opening footage. They're all decoed the same, which is to say cast in whatever color this is. It's hard to say because there's so much dry brushing of silver on top that it just looks silver, but it's actually a dry brush application. It looks really good. He comes with his shoulder cannon, of course, and then he comes with this piece, which is like a die cast with dry brushing of silver on top adapter so that it can plug into his back. So this plugs in to the weapon, and then this plugs into his back, which I'll show here in a second. This is decoed beautifully. It's blue painted, and then on top of that it has the black paint, and then on top of all of it, it has a dry brush of silver. That's not to mention the red accents throughout. The fan is painted and dry brushed, and so is the front of the weapon. Looks really good. And it'll peg right here. I do wish that you had the option to go to either side, just for posing and stuff, but, you know, what are you gonna do? Pegs right in. He also comes with a rifle, beautifully sculpted. This piece moves, not sure why, but it does. And beautifully sculpted. We got lots of little like tidbits, like the little cross member there and down here. And then the whole thing is dry brushed and painted, so looks pretty worn. And he'll hold that just fine in his trigger finger hand. Of course, he comes with Ravage, and it actually folds up into like the cube mode or whatever it is. And I mean, it looks pretty accurate to what he'd look like, you know, in the movie. Maybe a little thicker, so to speak, but I think that that's a worthwhile sacrifice to make. We'll talk about the deco more when we get him transformed, but I do want to show one thing. Soundwave's chest opens up. It tabs in with these two tabs, and it opens up, and look at all those like decos, details in there. It looks fantastic. Like it looks like it was printed right off of the movie screen. And then he will fit in there as well. So, cool little gimmick. And Ravage does actually transform. So you just kind of unpeg the legs from the side of the body and just start, you know, kind of, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I haven't even looked at the instructions. So I'm sure Robert is kind of cringing, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. Yep, that slides back. I feel like there's something that goes on here. Oh, look at that. Actually, this opens up. And then fills that out, I guess. And there he is. I will clean him up. We'll take a look at him. And here he is, kind of all armored up and stuff. So you get the neck range up and down here and here. So using both, you can get them all the way down and up. The jaw will close. Let's see what else. Beautiful red paint. Dry brushing throughout. This like white paint here looks great as well. The head will kind of like... It's weird, man. It's just, I guess it's just 2 hinges, but it feels like there's almost like slider joints and stuff. You get a ton of range out of it. No swivel, though, unfortunately. The front hips, or shoulders, I guess. Front hips, idiot. Are on ball pegs. So you get out to the side and the swivel back and forth. And then you have a elbow with a little bit of a range. And then an ankle on a hinge, but no rocker, which is kind of a bummer, but does tend to work. As long as you kind of keep his shoulders narrow, it does seem to work. Tons of sculpted detail in the body, along with dry brushing of that silver. There's also this piece here does raise up a bit, but has a tendency to fall back down. It's not a big deal either way. The back hips are on the same side, sort of ball peg, and knee hinge and ankle hinge, so that's the same. And then the tail is on a hinge, and there is a brown wash throughout. It's really quite impressive in hand for being what it is. I do wish it was a bit more articulated, specifically in the ankles. But as it stands, and maybe even if there was a hinge in the upper body or the torso, I think that would help a lot too. But as it stands, it's still pretty good. And there it is next to Tiger Tracks, of course. No review would be complete without it. He comes with Ravage 2-side hip missiles. They're actually painted beautifully. They have like this off-white kind of color with a brown wash or black, maybe a thin black wash over top, along with the gunmetal paint on the side and on the kind of piece here that looks like it would control the kind of movement of him. Really, really, really beautiful pieces. And those will peg right into the side of his hips there. And then he also has this, which I'm not sure, like I said, it's missile pods, and this sits on top of Ravage. We'll show that here in a bit. Just dry brushed metal, kind of the same sort of deco they've been using throughout. And this will peg onto the kind of top of his shoulders, and it does kind of fill him out a bit. Gimmick-wise, there's a light-up feature for the eyes where you press here and the eyes light up, and unfortunately the eyes do look a little dead without it, so that's kind of a bummer. So let's talk about the figure. So we'll kind of go color by color and then articulation as we encounter it, okay? So the blue has black panel work throughout and then has a dry brush of silver throughout. And the white has what looks to me like almost like a grayish, it could be a thinner black wash on top. Not as much of the silver dry brushing on the white. And then there's the gunmetal silver that's on most of the kind of mechanical parts, and that also has a dry brush as well. We've already talked about the eyes. The head is on a double ball peg, and then the neck is on a ball peg. So using both, you can get the head fairly far up, down, confuse Soundwave look, and swivel with no problem. Then we have the shoulders. So these flaps here will rotate up as you use the shoulder. If you get any resistance, just take a quick second and make sure you have it moved out of the way because you don't want to snap it. The shoulder pad itself is also on its own hinge here. And then the shoulder is on a universal. Where the universal plugs in is on a two-way hinge, so you can get the arm past 90 degrees. You get the swivel around, and it hinges out for a butterfly joint. So really extremely well done. Then you have more of that gunmetal silver, and you have the blue deco the same. We have a bicep swivel, and we have a double hinged elbow for a little bit greater than 90 degrees. All right. Then we have the wrists. The wrists are on a ball peg. The ball peg is on a hinge. So you do get a little bit of additional movement in and out, as well as the swivel, as well as up down on the ball peg itself. And then the white is decoed the same. But we have encountered the red now, so let's talk about that. It has the black wash on it, and that's pretty much it. Same for the other side. Then we have the torso. So we have the yellow paint and red paint on the translucent piece here, along with the Decepticon symbol. All of it looks great. The yellow paint has the wash over top of it as well. You have a swivel. In order to get the most out of it, you got to get these pieces up and out of the way. And then if you just use caution, you can get it pretty far across. Same thing goes for the ab crunch. It's a double hinged ab crunch that gets you that far over, so no issues there. Just use caution when manipulating the pieces. These are all on double hinges, so they will collapse up right on his abdomen again. You also get a sideways hinge for a teapot, so that all works well as well. And this piece right here is a softer plastic, so it should sort of not be a problem for you as you articulate it. All right. Moving on to the hips. So we have this piece here. This is on a double hinge. This will hinge down for the universal joint, which goes all the way out almost for the full Monty, or a full Van Damme rather. Now, where this is connected, it's on its own hinge that will slide forward. We just saw this with something else. Oh, the Prime. The MMC Prime, and then you can get it that far forward, so pretty intense. And then you have these pieces back here which are on ball pegs that you can kind of manipulate a bit to get out of the way, and I think that's it. Okay, so then you have a thigh swivel built around the universal. The universal joint is a metal, and I think the elbow joints are as well. I think a lot of the joints are die cast. All right, the knees are pretty cool, kind of Flames Toys-esque. As you move here, this hinge brings this piece of armor down and exposes a piston there. And then this secondary hinge just moves around for a great run. Nice knee. The knee pad hides the awkwardness of the joint itself. Looks pretty good. And kind of collapses nicely. So no issues there. And then you have the yellow paint here. We've talked about that already. You also have the yellow paint inside of that blue there. For the ankles, they'll come down on a double hinge. That'll get you an ankle tilt up, an ankle tilt down, and a rocker. And then you can collapse the ankle once again. And then there's the bottom of the feet. So yeah, it's pretty great. I'll be honest with you overall. So let's talk about size real quick. And I'm not gonna cut here. I'm just gonna. Just because I don't really have anything appropriate to compare it to, so I'm just going to give you a measurement. So he stands at about 12 inches and about 7 inches across. So typical kind of 1/6 style figure. Really well done. Final thoughts wise, let's start with the negatives. While immensely better than the previous Transformers release I looked at from them, there's still a couple of little tight tolerances here and there that aren't quite ironed out tolerance wise, clearance wise, build wise, or like a little too tight. I wish you could get a little bit more range on the waist swivel. I wish there was a little bit more articulation in Ravage, like ankle rockers would have been great, as would have like a ab crunch. Now there is like a rear crunch, like where the hips are, but more in the upper shoulders would have been nice. And I wish that the eyes were more in the style of, say, Fans Toys Omega, where they do light up, but they also look good when they're not lit up. We've seen a couple other companies use this as well recently. So I wish it was done sort of in that fashion. And that's about all I got. The positives far outweigh the negatives. It's beautifully painted. The articulation for 99% of it works great. The fact that Ravage transforms is an awesome gimmick to include, and somewhat surprising that they were able to do it. It has the appropriate accessories. The engineering of the articulation has improved, and another great improvement is the actual build. Now, while some parts are still a little tight, still a little scary, it's a huge improvement from where it was the last time I checked in with them. So that shows growth. That shows progress. That's what it's all about. That's what reviews should be about. So yeah, a great piece, a very strong recommendation for me. I also want to say that the materials feel outstanding. So yeah, if you love Soundwave, if you love this rendition of them, if you love cool figures, definitely grab this guy as soon as possible. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.